Dutch weather, you suck. I mean, look at this. The previous weekend we had a constant rainfall with wind and polar temperatures that literally destroyed the sound of our vlog. But we don't despair. I have made efforts to fix it as much as possible for all of you guys. That being said, let's comment a little bit on the Dutch government, man. You see, the Dutch government has sent to everybody in the Netherlands a booklet with advice what to do in case of emergency. Nobody understands what this emergency means. Could it be the war with the Russians? Could it be a dike that breaks? Yeah, let's hope not. So what they essentially explain in that booklet is what to do in case of a 72-hour blackout. How progressive is this Dutch government, man? Does your government send you information booklets on what to do without electricity for 72 hours? Do you know what to do in that case? Can you survive without the internet? Flipping hell. You won't believe what I have in front of me, man. I mean, look at this. This is not a house. This is a flipping bunker. Check this out. It's painted a bunker from the Second World War. Yeah. Painted door to make it look a tad more human, isn't it? Please do not associate this bunker with the emergency leaflet that the Dutch government sent. Are two things totally separate, purely coincidental. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Netherlands. This is Rotterdam. Goedemorgen. Hoe gaat het met jullie allemaal? And that is what Dutch sounds like. So good morning, everybody. Rotterdam is sucking the warmth of my soul. It's cold, man. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. So while we are making our way to the most important places of interest here in Rotterdam, let me share with you my experience yesterday while watching the game Excelsior against Groningen. Excelsior is essentially the third team of the city from an area of the city called Groningen, which also gives the name to the ultra group of the team. They are called Young Boys Groningen. It's not a big group. You will see them in the footage. They occupy a small portion of the stand behind the goal, but they do their best, you know. Just for comparison, the Groningen fans yesterday were almost double in numbers than the home ultras, you know, so they were a lot more vocal. Groningen, by the way, made also a tifo, and they were singing non-stop. There wasn't a single minute that they stopped, so kudos. So first of all, I have a couple of comments. Let's start with that Groningen player that got a red card while delaying his substitution, man. I mean, I have seen that before, but it doesn't happen very often. Second of all, both sets of ultras exposed a banner saying "Stop Collective Bans." And let me explain to you why this is important. The purpose of such a measure is essentially that you, as the average football supporter that goes to the stadium and experiences violent incidents for one reason or another, you essentially need to go to the police and tell them who's guilty. Because if you don't, you risk getting banned yourself, even though you are innocent. Now, most of you probably think that, okay, this fair enough. If somebody goes to the stadium and actually acts illegally, why not go to the police? Well, I'll tell you why not. You see, using this measure is extremely easy for the authorities to incriminate people for reasons totally unrelated to football, simply by blackmailing the average fan with a ban. Let's say, for example, that you are a socially active individual, unknowingly vocal about some of your opinions, and somebody up there in the government gets annoyed by you. And let's also say that while being all that, you are also a football aficionado. And when something like this happens, under this specific law, it's very easy for them to actually trap the persons of interest. Not to mention that it completely destroys the sense of solidarity within one group or one stand of supporters, which is, I don't know, it's part of the essentials of football, the group thing, you know? And in the same line of thought, the Groningen fans had also a small banner of their own, anti-KNVB, the initials of the Football Federation in the Netherlands, and also exposed a couple of banners against police brutality. And I don't know if you have been watching, but I think it was last week there was this game between Go Ahead Eagles and Stuttgart. I mean, what was that, man? I'm not going to show you this footage because it's I hate it, you know? This was not the average peacekeeping push by the police. This was retaliation for something, man. This was revenge. This is the friendship of Feyenoord with Pogonis Szczecin. So let me show you this, man. This is the one thing that really blew my mind for the entire 10-year period that I stayed in the Netherlands. Constant works. It probably has to do with the fact that the Netherlands is built on a former swamp. I cannot explain it otherwise. I mean, they work on something constantly. Now let me show you another reason why you need to appreciate the Dutchman. Look at this. This is the flipping Rotterdam Central Station. And the thing is packed with sun panels. So these sun panels essentially take advantage of the one day per year that the sun is shining here in the Netherlands to take care of the energy needed to light the city at night. Cool, isn't it? So, besides all that, it was a win for Groningen. They scored the first goal, much deserved. This is what I've been observing in the Netherlands, man. I mean, the teams play pretty attacking football without paying so much attention to defense, you know? Everyone can reach the opponent's area pretty easily. Whether they score or not is another story, but still. So take a couple of minutes to enjoy the footage and we are coming back.
wedstrijd Excelsior Groningen nummer 2.
Look at this. The Dutch are performing tests here. Look at this carpet. It looks kind of horrendous, but check out this area, man. Packed with graffiti. That is exactly what we like, don't we? So regarding Excelsior, it was in 2017 and I was here in Rotterdam visiting friends, and the next day Feyenoord were playing away against Excelsior, Feyenoord being the big boys of the city, you know. I think Feyenoord needed a point to secure the league. Now, Excelsior beat them 3-0, which is kind of crazy, and thus secured their presence to the following year's Eredivisie. This building, the City Hall, was damaged by the Nazi bombings of May 1940, but actually resisted and was later on restored. So you're probably asking yourself, why on earth did the Nazis decide to bomb and flatten Rotterdam like that? And not, for example, other important cities like Amsterdam? Well, the answer is kind of simple, isn't it? Rotterdam was the port, and also it was the place that most of the resistance took place, you know? What's interesting, however, is that there was a moment before the bombings that the Dutch and the Nazis came to an agreement to surrender, essentially, but that information never came to part of the German fleet that was already operating, you know? About 25,000 homes were destroyed and more than 1,000 people lost their lives. Not everything is perfect in the Netherlands, is it? Have a look at that church, man. This is the big church of Rotterdam. And you guessed correctly, it also survived the bombings with the help of Lord Jesus and the agreement of Adolf. Look at this. Erasmus himself. Look at this, man, automatic doors. Well, this is definitely not what we expected, is it? You have to love the Dutch, man. I mean, this could only happen here. Angola, Cabo Verde. I absolutely love this. A party for the emancipation of all these countries in the big church. Is this a burnt ornament, man, from the bombing? Look at this. So, predicant of Formosa, a missionary. At some point I am going to explain to you how the Dutch use the churches, I don't know, as dental offices or yoga studios, or even for crafting beer. But this will be a different video. That flipping Poseidon, man. So probably it's not Poseidon, but I like the thought of Poseidon in a church. Well done, Netherlands. Visiting this church restored my faith in humanity for, I don't know, the next couple of hours, I guess. So yeah, survived the bombing. After the bombing, by the way, The local residents of Rotterdam started the rebuild, and we came to what you see today. I will show you some specimens of this rebuilt, man, because it's really impressive. As for Erasmus back there, he's the precursor to people like, I don't know, Martin Luther, Calvin, and he has been an advocate for tolerance, albeit some 500 years after the Moors in Spain. Go watch the Sevilla videos. I strongly advise any one of you who comes to this city to visit this maritime museum. I spent about 2 hours learning about offshore platforms. Look at this horsey. Now, Rotterdam originates as a fishing village on the shores of River Rotte back in 1270, and in 1340 it was recognized as a town. And in typical Dutch fashion, they built a dam. Now, when Rotterdam was first established, there were neighboring cities which were much bigger, like Delft and Dordrecht. But the main reason Rotterdam grew bigger than all is the port and the communication with the sea and the major European rivers. So as you can imagine, it all started with commerce, grain, fish, you name it. A very important moment in the history of this city is 1597. It was in that year that the first ship sailed from Rotterdam, ended up in the coast of Africa, kidnapped some local Africans and sold them to South America as slaves. That was a pivotal moment in the history of the city. And what happened next? Some years later, the VOC was founded. The VOC is an acronym, Verenigde Oost-Indische Compagnie. What this corporation actually managed to do is unite all those little small sailing companies, of the time. I think it was a decade later that the West India Company was formed. That is the WC. The two companies had a monopoly. I mean, the VOC had the monopoly for the spice trade from Asia, and the WIC had the monopoly of the slave trade with the Americas. And the concept of the latter is very interesting. So there was trade of essentially of alcohol from here to Africa, the kidnapping of local African workforce, and then the selling of that workforce in the Americas. And then from the Americas, sugar was brought back. And through this triangular commerce, the city became fucking rich. And it wasn't the only one. Long story short, via the actions of the West and East Dutch India companies, the Netherlands have become the powerhouse that they are today. Try to imagine this. I mean, the VOC played an essential role in building up the Netherlands. Not only did the company itself become extremely rich, also the shareholders, and boy, were they a lot. The VOC was the first company, or one of the first, in history to issue shares, which meant profits didn't just flow to the state, they flowed to ordinary investors. Early capitalism with dividends. The whole land took advantage of the VOC trade. The Dutch were busy making dikes and reclaiming land from long before the VOC. What the VOC did was provide the funds to let it explode. Officially it was trade. Now in practice, it was a monopoly enforced with contracts, canons, and the occasional massacre. This highway that I'm driving on, for example, this piece of land is literally younger than my father, younger than some of the people living on it. And the irony of the whole thing, none of this would have been possible without stealing knowledge first. The Portuguese had already discovered the maritime routes to the Moluccas, to India, even to Japan, and they guarded those maps like state secrets. They actually were state secrets. For decades, maybe longer, Portuguese charts were among the best kept secrets in Europe. The Dutch didn't invent the routes, they stole them. They sent spies in Lisbon, copied maps to finally break the Portuguese monopoly. Now, Rotterdam here was not ruling the VOC, not like Amsterdam did, but it did feed it. Ships, sailors, logistics, and a lot of looking the other way. All right, check it out. So this one here is basically the central mast. This is the center of gravity of the ship. So this minuscule kitchen, I mean, imagine this. This is the space where the cook must prepare meals for 340 people. I mean, picture this. Just picture this. And all this in conditions that a lot of times are, not very good. I mean, you have storms, you have everything. Check out this space, man. A mutineer. A second mutineer. The VOC, just like its British counterpart, were essentially private armies fighting the occasional war over small islands packed with spices, or trading other islands where nothing grows, like, Manhattan. And it's actually quite funny, the fact that the VOC eventually collapsed under corruption and debt, being the first corporation already falling like a modern one. Flipping hell. In front of me is River Maas. As a matter of fact, this part of the river is called Nieuwe Maas, which means the new Maas. Parallel to this is another branch of the river called Old Maas. Now that one eventually becomes the Waal River, which eventually becomes the Rhine, which Rhine at some point meets a man-made canal that leads to the Danube. So you realize that having a massive river like this one, or any other in this here region, essentially can facilitate communication between these here parts and the bloody Black Sea. I mean, this is why the port of Rotterdam is so important, man. I tell you what, Rotterdam perfectly justifies its name as the Manhattan of the Netherlands. The Nazi bombardment, by the way, was not the only one. Some years later, during the World War, also the Americans bombed Rotterdam because it was so important for the Nazis, as a port. And also the Nazis, upon leaving the Netherlands, they finalized the destruction. They sunk ships, destroyed infrastructure, There is a lot of misery in the past of this harbor city. And it's even sadder to think that the Nazis actually used the example of Rotterdam to threaten the Dutch, You either surrender or we bomb Utrecht next. Or, God forbid, even Amsterdam. So the Dutch surrendered. Sorry about that. The wind on the Erasmus Bridge was outrageous and totally destroyed my sound. So Feyenoord has a friendship with Napoli, with Pogoni of course, and not sure at all if there is any kind of friendship with another fan base of the Netherlands. If there is, please write it down in the comments. Now, there used to be a friendship also with Celtic, but I'm not sure at all that this is still the case. I remember at some point some hostile banners from Feyenoord against Celtic. As for enemies, where do we begin? Feyenoord is one of the big three in the Netherlands, the others being Ajax and PSV. Eindhoven, and there is a fierce rivalry with these two. However, Feyenoord also have the local rivals. I mean, Excelsior and Sparta, make no mistake, don't really like Feyenoord. Despite the fact that I actually saw a lot of kids yesterday in the Excelsior stadium wearing Feyenoord, hats, clothes, etc. Inside the Netherlands, the most fierce rivalry is with Ajax. I mean, I don't even remember how many years it is that visiting fans are not allowed, When I was back in Crete, I was 16, 17, I had heard of the Battle of Beverwijk, which is nothing short than a hooligan rendezvous, Feyenoord and Ajax hooligans planned to meet each other and fight to resolve issues once and for all. After an ambush that Ajax fans had planned on Feyenoord fans some months earlier that year. One, a bit older Ajax hooligan was murdered that day. I actually remember this incident being on the news in Greece. Netherlands, thanks again for this weather from hell. And here we are, going to Feyenoord for the first time. Check out the thing, man. As per usual, we are on the other side of the stadium. Here's me deciding to leave. Let's be with us. Selfie of a Feyenoord legend. If any of you know if Feyenoord face problems with the ultras, I mean, it was very quiet at times. Very, very quiet. As for this guy, Wedaman, what a bowler. 4 goals. Like, brilliant. Have a look at this shop, man. This is the quintessential Dutch food. Frietjes. Look at Dutch transportation, man. Fijne dag. Good morning, everybody. So here we are. The water taxi is off Rotterdam. Now let me show you this, because this is a very important relic from the past of this city. Check this out. This is Hotel New York, the former building of Holland American Line. And let me tell you why this is important. It marks the shift from empire to migration. Founded in Rotterdam in 1873, it reversed the direction of the VOC. Instead of bringing goods to Europe, it started bringing Europeans to the Americas. Rotterdam stops being just an imperial port and it becomes a gateway to the new world. Today, we visit the third team of the city, which is called, in a very Greek manner, Sparta. And they play against NAC Breda, with whom they have a friendship. Now Sparta also have a friendship with the team from my hometown, OFI. What were the chances? You want to say hello to the camera or not?
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see. You want to be in my film?
Yeah, for sure.
So everybody, this is Thomas. Thomas is a die-hard supporter of
Sparta, Rotterdam.
Sparta. This is Sparta, like Leonidas said. The fans of the two teams are also friends, like Sparta and OFI that we talked previously. Their friendship, Thomas here told me, started in a very similar way. Do you remember when we were back in Salerno and we talked about the Salernitana-Brescia friendship that started by a death, actually? It was something very similar for these two teams. So there was this young talented player called
Knell. Yeah.
He had Surinamese origins and he was playing for Sparta in his youth. He took a transfer to Breda, and at some point he would board a plane to go back to Suriname and play for his national team, which unfortunately crashed. A big part of the Suriname team lost their lives, but for the fans of the two teams this sparked their very good relationship. Look at this weatherman. Do you have anything to say about the weatherman? Apologize or something.
Apologize. Typical Dutch weather.
Spartastraat. The backside of the stadium looks even more impressive. What is this? This is a castle.
Yeah.
Check this out. Oh, the Sparta March. Het Sparta Lied. This is the song of Sparta. Look at my boys from Crete. Neighbors. So I tell you what, man, this logo of Sparta is by far the best out of every team in Rotterdam. Possibly in Holland.
Yeah.
So you were saying that these kind of fields were built all over the Netherlands by
Johan Cruyff.
and they essentially built them in poorer areas of
to give the area some
a place to play.
a place to play. Yeah.
Cruyff Court, Sparta, Rotterdam.
Yeah.
Very nice. Look at the future talent training here before they start playing there. and eventually make a transfer to the Prem.
Yeah.
Hopefully not. Hopefully at one point you will be able to hold your players here, right? Cheers, everybody. So look at this, man. Sparta was founded in 1888. It's the oldest professional club in the Netherlands. Amazing. The first club in Rotterdam. The other two are second and third. You agree?
Yeah.
Bloody hell, man. Finally out of this rain. I will be very honest with you. It was a very nice feeling seeing all this memorabilia of OFI, you know. Despite the fact that I don't support OFI, it was a piece of my island here. So the Ultras of Sparta are sitting over there in the corner. But I have to say, man, look at this stadium. Even from the inside, this place looks exquisite. So Sparta, together with Ajax and Heracles Almelo, is one of the three teams that have a very Greek name. I'm not sure if there are more of them that I don't know about. So I think Rotterdam is the only city where that fits perfectly next to all these, with it making absolute sense. However, what I do find outrageous is what's in front of me. I mean, look at this thing. Look what the Dutch built, man, after being bombarded by the Nazis. Would you ever rent one of those, man? Can you picture yourself living in one of these? That one over there is for sale. Anyone interested? Affiliate links? So look at this, man. This thing is a monument. Who would have thought? Look at this cube coffee. Flipping hell, man. What a neighborhood. Would you want your neighborhood to be like this? I find it fascinating that all these people actually want to enter one of those and see what it looks from the inside, you know? I tell you what, man, the Dutch are very clever, man. Look at this, another one that's for sale. These cubes are not the only weird thing the Dutch have been building, man. I mean, look in front of me. Look at that. So, Sparta beat Breda yesterday, 1-0. At this market, man. Further on, I was very happy to see all those banners for OFI, man. I mean, it reminded me of home, I'm not gonna lie. We will not discuss why I don't support OFI. Not now, probably not ever. I refuse to show you my breakfast. Diet suck. Right, so let's evaluate our stay in Rotterdam and the football experience. Let's start with the atmospheres. Feyenoord won 6-0, right? They completely destroyed Zwolle, but there were minutes long of silence, you know? I understand that the Ultras are following this British model of support, but still, I mean, it was weird, you know? Now, the second best atmosphere was created by the Ultras of Groningen in the game against Excelsior. They never stopped singing. It was wonderful. As for Excelsior, they had a very small group. I could see them moving and hear them every once in a while, but they were overwhelmed, you know, by Groningen. And probably the best one for me was Sparta. At Sparta, it was a combination between a flipping wonderful stadium. I mean, I love that thing. How it looks and everything, you know. The Ultras of Sparta are a very small group. You saw them, they occupy that place in the corner. But, exactly like the ones from Groningen, they never stopped singing, man. I mean, it was continuous, you know? So, in my books, it doesn't matter if the group is small. From the moment they don't stop, it's a 10 out of 10, you know? As for Breda, I did hear them at times, but I think the game didn't help them, especially in the first half. So yeah, that's my resume of the whole thing. It's a pity with Feyenoord, man. I mean, a Feyenoord game was actually part of my bucket list. So yeah, probably we need to come back. Maybe at a big game or I don't know, a European game or something. And I want to say, man, this weather. Yeah, I will leave it at that. I will not complain about the weather. It's not fair. That's more or less everything from Rotterdam. Thank you very much. A big thank you to Thomas, the guy from Sparta. By the way, I met Thomas. We have a common link with Thomas. He saw some of the videos from Argentina and he met with Leon. So big up to both of them, Thomas and Leon, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.